well. All right, let's bring our powerhouse panel in for the first time on this Thursday morning. We've got former Nevada State GOP chairwoman and Republican strategist Amy Tarkanian back with us. Republican strategist and Turning Point USA contributor Aaron Elmore is here. National Advisory Board member for Project 21 Chris Arps is here in sunny St. Louis, as always. And constitutional attorney and Newsmax contributor Amir Benno here as well. Chris, you knew I was going to say that. Say it every time.
I did.
I don't know how they do it in St. Louis. It's always sunny in St. Louis, though. All right, I want to play you a soundbite from our Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, somebody we don't typically hear from. She was out there talking about how this is not apparently a major gas issue. Take a listen to what she had to say.
It's not that we have a gasoline shortage. It's that we have this supply crunch.
Yeah, Amy, it's a supply crunch, apparently.
Sure.
All right, let's run through, if people are just waking up with us this morning. In the state of North Carolina, 70% of all gas stations are closed right now. In Georgia and South Carolina, at least 50%. Gas prices today, the average nationally over $3 a gallon. On this day, 1 year ago in America, Amy, the average price for a gallon of gas, $1.85. Somebody's got to explain to Joe Biden that if you print money, you get inflation, right?
Right. And that's a whole nother topic. I mean, inflation's also at an all-time high in over a dozen years at 4.2%.
Right.
But getting back to the whole gas scenario, you know, it is affecting the East Coast the hardest. However, it is trickling over to the West Coast. And I bounce back and forth between California and Nevada. And I have reported that I've seen gas as high as $5.39 a gallon in California. And then here in Nevada, I've seen it as high as $4.50. So, you know, we are also getting the brunt of this, and people are panicking. And the fact that we have to have the government actually issue a statement saying don't put gasoline in plastic bags is also concerning.
Yeah, it's
people
by the
need
way,
to stop hoarding and calm down.
I agree with you. I gassed up this morning, though, because we all, you know, we fall into this. It's like I got toilet paper, you know, a little over a year ago when coronavirus started. So right now, according to Gas Buddy, there's a tweet from the Consumer Product Safety Commission, do not fill plastic bags with gasoline. Amy, I looked it up. So the average price in California right now, the average, by the way, is just over $4 a gallon. According to Gas Buddy, Amir, there are over 1,000 gas stations in this country out of gas right now. This is Jimmy Carter all over again. And Amir, I thought it was a coincidence. So we've still got that picture of President Biden and Dr. Jill met with Jimmy and Rosalind Carter last week. I don't know if Carter gave the president some bad advice, but they got together. Remember that picture where the president, here it is, the president looked like a giant. So this is 1979, 1980 all over again, Amir.
It sure is, and it's a malaise, which is what was going on with Carter. I mean, we're seeing a workforce, out of work people in record numbers still, terrible jobs report. We're seeing inflation. We're seeing the supply crunch or a distribution crunch, whatever. That's what the White House wants to call it. This is a problem across the board, and what it gets down to also is just, you know, we need to be focusing on energy independence, and instead we're moving in the precisely opposite direction. Biden's policies are just going to exacerbate this. So, yeah, right. This is a reboot of Jimmy Carter. Not good things for the American people.
So just an update, the pipeline is up and running again this morning, but it's going to take a few days, according to the administration, for everything to get back to normal. So we expect this to get worse before it gets better as we head into the weekend. Secretary Granholm was talking about the best ways to transport fuel. Take a listen to what she had to say. I thought this was kind of fascinating. Take a listen, Aaron, and then we'll get some reaction.
The pipe is the best way to go, and so that's why hopefully this company, Colonial, will in fact be able to restore operations by the end of the week, as they have said.
Okay, I hope the folks over at CNN this morning heard that. I just heard, and I quote, the pipe is the best way to go. But I seem to remember 6 hours after taking the oath of office on January 20th, Joe Biden signed an executive order ending all construction on the Keystone Pipeline and putting a lot of people, a lot of good Americans out of work.
Good, hardworking, tax-paying Americans out of work. And now this is a total contradiction. And by the way, this pain at the pump is real. When you go buy bread and milk at the store, inflation is real. Joe Biden will take no responsibility for any of these things. The job report numbers really can't be disputed, but none of these things. We don't see any accountability from the top to the bottom. People make excuses. The mainstream media is making excuses. Honestly, I think this is, like you said, going to get much worse before it gets better until we have some sort of election to change things. Because this is really, I believe, a slippery slope into forms of socialism. We were energy independent under Donald Trump 1 year ago. There was peace, by the way, in the Middle East 1 year ago. We see all of the peace and all of the prosperity gone under Joe Biden. And once again, no accountability because the mainstream media and his supporters are complicit.
Yeah, we had peace in the Middle East 4 months ago, Aaron, prior to Joe Biden taking office. Chris, nice to see you. I want to talk about the border for a little bit. I know this topic, sometimes Americans are so desensitized to what's going on down there and these images of people crossing the Rio Grande and what it's become so normal that people just change the channel. My thought is we're not going to be able to solve this problem until the other side decides that they want to try and solve the problem as well. Chuck Schumer yesterday, though, Chris, had a very interesting theory on why we have a labor shortage in this country, and it has to do with the border. Take a listen.
When you study it, there are many reasons that there is a shortage of workers. Some of it is because Trump cut off immigration so severely. We have half the number of immigrants that came in.
Okay, Chris, I don't think Chuck Schumer has studied it. But pretty fascinating that he's blaming the labor shortage in this country right now on President Trump's immigration policies.
Yeah, the labor shortage is definitely not because of the immigration policies. You know, our governor here in Missouri, Governor Parson, this week announced that he was cutting off enhanced benefits starting next July or starting in June because there are so many job openings and people aren't filling them. You know, I went to take my car to the local auto repair shop, one of the chains here, and they literally had a help wanted sign up for mechanics. You never see that with them. And that's what we're seeing all around the country, jobs being unfulfilled because it's you make more money staying at home than you do working.
Chris, quick follow-up. Do these numbers, by the way, the numbers that we saw yesterday, and we'll go through them in a moment, but 51 days after Kamala Harris was appointed to sort of manage the crisis down there at the border, do these numbers put any additional pressure on her to get down there and in some way at least just, go down there for the photo op and try and make it appear like she's addressing the problem?
I think these numbers do put pressure on her, Rob, but I think what puts the most pressure on her is the images that we see of kids being abandoned in the desert. Right. You know, about a month ago, we had the little boy from Ecuador who was crying that was abandoned. Well, just this week, we had 5 little girls under the age of 7 that were abandoned on a Texas rancher's land. So I think now that Liz Cheney and all of these other things are off of the front page of the news, I think we're going to start focusing more on the border, and I think that just spells trouble for the Harris-Biden administration.
Chris, you make a good point. Amy, it's these smugglers and these coyotes, I mean, we're seeing video now. They are literally, escorting migrants across the Rio Grande and across other spots in the border. I mean, like literally holding them by carrying their bags, carrying their kids at some points. And you can pick them out because their clothes are all, they look, their clothes are clean and they've got cell phones and they're very easy to identify. But that's how brazen this has become down there right now.
Sure, and they're fearless and they have no repercussions. So why wouldn't they continue to function in this manner?
Right.
And this is nothing new. The fact though that this administration is adding more incentives for these people to make this dangerous trip, that's the problem. I mean, you can go as far back as when I was much younger. I remember Elian Gonzalez, the young boy from Cuba who was saved on a raft trying to get to Florida, and everyone else drowned, including his mother. So that was, I think, in the late 80s or 90s. So we know that this is something that has happened for decades. But this has been a dramatic increase in numbers, and it's because they know that they're going to get away with it. It's going to be just a quick, short-term holding by our government, and then they're going to be released into our nation and free to do whatever they choose.
And just to put it into perspective, Elian Gonzalez was 2000, by the way, but just to put it into perspective.
Oh, 2000.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I remember it was Bill Clinton, so he was still president toward the tail end there. But it's interesting. So April of last year, 17,000 were apprehended for trying to cross the border illegally. April this year, 17,000 a year ago, 178,000 this past April. And I'm anticipating that May will be even worse. By the way, the Biden administration very quietly yesterday said they're going to fix 13 miles of the border wall. So construction is going to resume on 13 miles of the border wall. So that didn't, you're not going to see that on the masthead on CNN this morning, but they are going to resume construction on some of the border wall at least, but they don't want a lot of people to know that. Aaron Elmore, quick question about Liz Cheney. We'll get into this more at the top of the hour, but so she was taken off the leadership yesterday. She's no longer conference chair. She's got a tough re-election up in 2022. Does this show how much power Donald Trump still has in the Republican Party?
Absolutely. I think this is a real sign for those classic old school rhinos and classic Republicans that the Donald Trump populist movement is alive and well. And you cannot stop progress. They think we're just going to go, air quotes, back to normal as Republicans. This has changed. Donald Trump has changed the party to be a working class, pick your stuff up by the bootstraps, the people that fight our wars and pay our taxes party, and you're not going to be able to stop that. The kind of candidates they're going to be running in 2022 are going to be those kind of populist candidates, and I think we've seen a total shift in the party, and it's here to stay. Sorry, Liz Cheney, you're out.
Yeah, she very well could be in Wyoming as well. That's why we call you guys a powerhouse panel. It's panels like that. We'll pick this conversation back up at the top of the hour.